Welcome to Citadel Advantage's free webinar series. In this edition, I'm going to examine the effect that the COVID-19 pandemic is having on the payments industry and explore some possible future outcomes. How will COVID-19 affect you? How is COVID-19 going to impact you and your career? Will you still work in an office? What will that office look like? How will you manage a team from a distance? How can you ensure that you and your team are still productive and engaged during this time? What should learning and development be focusing on now and in the future? How do you homeschool your kids? How do you manage a home? And how do you still hold down a full-time job? How do you maintain a balance when all the boundaries are absolutely blurred? How does one pivot one's business? And who are the true leaders right now, and how should we be leading in this new world? These are just some of the questions that we are all seeking answers to. Those questions will only start to emerge in the weeks and the months ahead. My focus in all this is a little closer to home. It is focused on the world of payments. You know, we are living through some extraordinary times right now. As is already patently obvious, the COVID-19 pandemic is changing business and much else forever. How then is the pandemic affecting payments? What are the implications for payments generally and for huge domestic and international payments industry in particular? On the positive side, the global payments network has proven to be tough in the face of the pandemic. The public at large still continues to trust payment systems and providers, and no substantial outages of any of the core infrastructures have been reported so far. On the negative side, however, the industry is far from immune to the effects of the crisis. The biggest changes for payment providers as a result of the pandemic take in things like an increase in non-performing loans, a reduction in revenues, and a greater demand on customer service teams. Total payment volumes have shrunk because of the massive reduction in consumption and in trade. In the short term, this is going to force payment providers to make changes to their operating modules, and in all probability, they will concentrate on seeking greater flexibility and setting new short-term goals. In the longer term, however, the impacts of the pandemic on global payments are likely to be even greater. So, given the current situation, what are we facing? Well, there are a number of key issues to consider. How is all this going to affect the cashless society? What is the position of mobile wallets? What will be the effect of online shopping? How will the changes affect fintechs? Will the changes taking place affect the fraud situation? Public trust in the context of payments and economic distress. Cash flow management, and what effect will the changes have to customer behavior? Let's consider each of these in turn. How does this affect the cashless society? The move towards a cashless society will gain immensely in momentum. As early as March, the World Health Organization warned that banknotes might spread the coronavirus. The World Health Organization recommends using contactless payments where possible to help control the virus. COVID-19 further undercuts the use of cash by forcing many retailers to close their doors and sell exclusively through online orders for delivered goods. Naturally, such payments are card-based and obviously non-cash. For these reasons, the pandemic is driving acceptance of contactless payments in a major way. It is unlikely that it will end the use of cash everywhere, of course, but it may be enough to push many markets toward a new cashless model. The coronavirus pandemic has affected the payment world in two major ways. Firstly, is the massive contraction of consumer purchasing after an initial spike as the US began to shut down during March in hopes of flattening the curve of the virus's spread. Second is the accelerated adoption of digital payments, which is being driven by widespread fears of handling cash and touching hard surfaces such as PIN pads and touchscreens, along with a big shift to e-commerce purchases out of preference or just necessity. The first is confirmed by both aggregate data and data released by individual institutions. Transaction volume for credit and debit cards nosedived from early March 2020 to early April, dropping 30% and 25% over a year-on-year basis. The real hits came in the restaurant, travel and entertainment sectors. Groceries, pharmacies and warehouse stores were up, at least for a time. Payment-related health worries go far beyond cash. People don't want to touch dirty ATMs or POS signature screens or PIN pads, or have to hand cards to clerks at a drive-up pharmacy or a bank window. Businesses will have to rethink public touchscreens as more customers see shared surfaces as an infection risk, no matter how often they are cleaned. While it is risky to overgeneralize because different parts of the country and the world have been impacted differently by the virus, some experts speculate that such fears could last well after the pandemic has ended. Others believe that once and if a COVID vaccine becomes widely available, the concern will diminish. Even if the latter is true, by then habits may have been formed that will not completely unwind. What about mobile wallets? COVID-19 has proved a good reason to be cautious of public payment terminals, as we have already seen. Tokenized mobile wallets or digital wallets are financial accounts that allow users to store funds, make transactions, and track payment histories by computer. These pieces of software may be included in a bank's mobile app or as a payment platform like PayPal or Alipay. Now, digital wallets like Apple Pay and Google Pay already permit payments to be made without even physically touching a card to a terminal or entering a PIN. The use of token-based wallets is expected to grow in the future, while the use of actual physical payment cards may well shrink. Those businesses that are unable to accept payments from digital wallets could experience slower growth in the post-pandemic world. Peer-to-peer contactless payments, even between different types of wallets, should become far more commonplace. Let's move now to online shopping and look at the effect there. Online shopping and other digital checkouts are being affected, and with governments advising citizens to stay at home and in some cases making it illegal to leave, there's been a huge increase in the use of online shopping and delivery systems. Firms like PayPal, Amazon, and Instacart have seen huge spikes in demand. Amazon's web traffic was up 32% year over year in the second week of March, according to the Wall Street Journal. The shifting patterns of consumer purchases reflect health concerns, store and restaurants and movie theater closings, stocking up at various points on necessities, and the arrival, beginning in April, in the US, of government stimulus checks. There are two major implications for this for payment providers and their customers. First, anyone who provides a substandard online shopping and checkout experience is now on notice. For those sort of providers, the clock is ticking to improve their systems. Second, as more consumers turn to online ordering for everyday purchases like groceries, some customers are likely to be irritated by how repetitive the process is. If your grocery order is mostly the same most of the time, why should you have to re-enter it anew every time you order? These online shoppers may be more open to ordering their routine items using devices enabled by the Internet of Things. Such devices could include, for example, automatically purchasing groceries at an appropriate time, IoT-driven payments that may grow massively in the years to come. However, on the negative side, whatever means of payment is used, there will be a pullback in usage because 26 million people in the US alone are out of work and will run out of stimulus funds pretty quickly. Bain & Company noted in mid-April that 65% of credit card payment volume is at risk because of sectors hurt by the coronavirus. The firm also stated that 50% of cross-border payments have actually vanished. How will the changes affect fintechs? Well, a tougher environment for payment fintechs is on the cards. The decrease in the number of global payments means a drop in fees for payment operators and providers. And this will affect every aspect of the payments industry. But payments fintechs may feel the pinch even more than anyone else because investment capital always seeks low-risk environments. Fintechs should prepare for a less friendly funding environment. Some fintechs should be able to accelerate their path to profitability, while others may wish to investigate partnerships with an established financial service organization. Now, will the changes taking place affect the overall fraud situation? Of course, there's a need for greater fraud protection. Unhappily, any crisis presents opportunities to criminals, and they're pretty quick to jump on the bandwagon. With fundamental change occurring very rapidly around the world, many new gaps and loopholes are opening up for fraudsters to take advantage of. Common COVID-19 scams includes things like impersonating public health authorities or other government organizations and demanding payment for different services from their targets. In response, large merchants and financial institutions are going to have to make substantial investments to improve fraud prevention and detection. And of course, artificial intelligence and machine learning could possibly both make an important difference in combating this type of crime. Here we're talking now about public trust, or the trust of the public in the context of the payments industry and economic distress. The public trust equation is changing. The pandemic may change the nature of people's trust in payments. There are at least two possible reasons for this. One, the increase in fraud, which has been mentioned previously, and secondly, the general higher level of economic distress worldwide that results from the pandemic, because jobs are lost and many businesses are not going to survive. As money gets tight for businesses and individual alike, payments will be watched very, very closely. Perhaps this is the missing initiator that is needed for the widespread adoption of the blockchain or distributed ledger technology in payments. Blockchain solutions to track assets and payments could also get more traction, especially in the world of trade finance. Cash flow management is another issue. There will be tighter cash flow management generally. The pandemic has pushed a huge proportion of the world's population, along with businesses of every size, into difficult financial situations. This will lead to an increased scrutiny of all outgoing cash flows. As regards individual consumers and small businesses, the use of payment instruments like direct debits and recurring card payments is likely to shrink and be replaced by things like request to pay and other tools that allow for the payer to exercise greater control. A market could possibly be created at the enterprise level for more powerful expenditure forecasting dashboards, with features covering sweeping, loans, savings. From a transaction banking perspective, treasurers will also want better real-time dashboards with options covering forecasts and solutions that are easy to activate. Customer behavior. How do we expect what the changes to come about there? What are these changes going to be? Changes to customer behavior are going to drive digital innovation. Social distancing and other pandemic mitigation measures are likely to boost demand for digital banking services. Many traditional payment providers will be hard-pressed into fast-tracking their digital innovation efforts, and the legacy banks and payment providers may wish to collaborate to better develop better digital payment solutions for the market. So, to summarize, the overall impact of COVID-19 will not be known for months, if not years itself. The global economy could look very different when we get back to normal, or whatever the future normal is going to be. The payments industry is going to have a key role to play in overhauling the economy. There will be many opportunities, which will include things like replacing cash and checks with digital payment products, creating the infrastructure to support more merchants working remotely, adopting digital currencies into existing universal payment solutions, or using cloud-based infrastructure, automation, and analytics to cope with increased scale. So thank you for joining us in this look at how the COVID-19 pandemic is going to affect the world of payments. We here at Citadel Advantage are committed to providing high-quality online professional training. Since 2001, Citadel Advantage has been working with banks and financial institutions to make them safer and more profitable. International GRC and operations consulting, through consulting and training, we have helped our clients learn governance, risk management, and compliance. We offer a wide and comprehensive range of professional courses and training in the core areas of governance, risk management, and compliance, as well as payment and treasury systems and operations and back office management. Our courses are unique because as banking operations specialists, we're able to bring to you the real financial industries view by real operational managers with global experience, something not covered by other training organizations. Please check out what online courses are currently available at 2 URLs which are coming up on the screen. And again, thank you for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your day.